Thanks for the invitation to come and meet your club. What an impressive group. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have your own packing ideas, and we're always very interested because as motorcyclists, you know what a challenge packing is. And it's not just for motorcyclists. I have to tell you a little story quickly. We rode one of our trips from our home in Tweed to the tip of South America, to Ushuaia. And when we got there, I have a Canadian flag on the back of my jacket. And so we were, obviously ecstatic that we had made it, and we were hugging and celebrating. And a fellow came over to me and he said, did you ride those bikes all the way from Canada? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, how long are you going to be on the road? And we said, well, about 6 months. And he said, well, what do you do for clothes and that? And I said, well, come with me. And I took him over to my bike, and I pulled this out, and I said, well, there it is. And he went, just a minute, I have to get my wife. So everybody has these challenges. So that actually was the trip where we probably learned the most about packing, because we went from 100 degrees in Mexico down to 0. We actually went over to Antarctica by boat. So we went from the heat of Central America to the Antarctic, which was freezing. So again, with this one bag. So it was quite a challenge to figure out how we were going to deal with all that climate change, as well as opportunities to dress up and go out, or take advantage of hiking or things like that. So through that trip we learned a lot, and so we've been kind of trying to share that with our fellow motorcyclists. So that's our reason for being here tonight. So one of the reasons that I just have one bag, by the way, we all have 2 saddlebags. This is my clothes bag. This is my other saddlebag. So I just put it in a bag so that we can talk a little bit about that stuff. But primarily, I think most people are interested more in the clothing part of it. So I'm going to start there. And one of our kind of rules is no soft luggage. Because when we travel, we want to be able to leave our bikes and go and see a museum or go for a walk or whatever. And if you have soft luggage, you're susceptible to loss. And so we decided to get rid of tank bags. And we're just like everybody else. Your tank bag's like your soother. Everybody has to have this tank bag on the bike to put all your stuff in. But we realized that actually we don't use it that often when we're riding. You use it when you stop. So it doesn't really have to be right there. It could be in a pannier. So I'll talk about that later. So all we do is we have our 2 metal saddlebags and this little thing on the front, and that's it. So no soft luggage. Now, having said that, I'll give you a caveat. We're not camping. If we're camping, then obviously you've got to have a bag with your tent and all that. But for most of our travel, we're hosteling it, so we don't need camping gear. So this is it. So this is 6 months worth of clothing. And the first thing that we learned was about cubes. And they're an amazing thing because they keep your bag organized. Speaking of tubes. We started using these cubes, and as you can see, I have all different sizes and colors and shapes, and that's what we use to keep everything together. And when they're in cubes like that, they don't shift, they don't wrinkle because you roll, and it's easier for Ross, for example, to find his underwear because it's in a certain color cube and he doesn't have to root through the whole bag. So I'm just going to start with the cubes and go through some of the things that we do. The first one is our toiletries bag, and we use hanging bags. And the reason for that is oftentimes in campgrounds and places like that, you don't really want to put your cosmetic bag down in that sludge that's on the counter. So we find that these are really handy for sanitary, and that's all our cosmetics. And the other thing that you have to remember too is, it took us a while to learn that, but they actually do sell toothpaste in Argentina. You don't have to take 6 months worth of toothpaste and shampoo and all that stuff. So you have to, if you're trying to save space, you can buy stuff along the way. Today you can't go anywhere without electronics. This is getting worse and worse and worse, I'm telling you. I mean, you must all know it. But we have all kinds of cords, for our Scala riders, for our GPS, for our Fitbits. So we found this little gizmo that's specially made for electronics, and it works really well. And we have one central block that we can plug into the outlet and then put all the USBs in there. Here's a little tip I learned a long time ago. Toilet paper roll wrapped with tape, packing tape, keeps your cords really nice, and you can label them so that you know what they are. These are our Scalas. So that's electronics, and we really work on trying to keep that as small as possible, but it doesn't always happen. This is my pajamas, and this is kind of neat because when we were going to Russia, we didn't know whether we'd even find hotels. We were really going blind because there was very little information. But one thing people told us is a lot of the Russian homes will take travelers in, and you can stay in a house. Well, if you're going to do that, you're not going to wear your itty-bitty, teeny-weeny nightie. You need something that's a little more...
Granny?
Yeah, granny. Thank you. And believe me, I got lots of that. But one of the things I'm going to talk about is flexibility. And that is everything that we have, we try and have multiple uses for. So this being my pajama bottoms, and this isn't my best pair, but this can be used as like casual pants for walking around town, but they're also pajama bottoms. And there's some real cute stuff out there. This isn't particularly one of them, but it's one of these modest things. And the top I have here can work as, this can be a house coat. It's my pajama top. It can be a house coat, and it can also be like a bathing suit cover. So it can, again, serve multiple functions and still be packed fairly small. Speaking of packing small, this is the best thing I ever found. Shoes are a huge problem because running shoes are big and bulky, and they only serve one purpose. But if you're going to dress up, and when I say dress up, clean pair of jeans, you need you like to have sort of a normal pair of shoes. And I finally found these, which took ages. Obviously, they pack very, very small. And what they are is they're elastic, so they're very comfortable. They have a tread on the bottom that is good as any running shoe. But they also are a little bit stylish. Hey guys, I know style is really important to you.
Skechers?
Beckers, actually.
Beckers.
And they look like Mary Jane's, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, all right, look at them. Oh, good. Yeah, perfect. That's perfect.
Yes.
And well, you would know they're comfortable,
Yes.
but they pack down really good. And so they can be my running shoes. They can be my dress shoes. They're anything but my running.
Just a quick question, where did you get them?
Beckers, not the milk store.
Online.
Oh, online, okay.
And so then I'll get into like clothing. And with the clothing, I have what I call the rule of threes. We take 3 of everything. And the reason it's 3, it's 1 that you're wearing, 1 that you're washing, and 1 in reserve. So I have, for example, 3 pairs of pants. Another rule I have, wrong end. The other rule I have is nothing that isn't microfiber. The first trip we went on was a long trip, was to India, the dirtiest country in the world. The air pollution is incredible. And so we had to wash our clothes every night. And Ross had brought blue jeans and t-shirts. You ever try and wash a pair of blue jeans in a sink that's this big? So that was the end of that, and so it became microfiber. So everything we have is microfiber. And so here's my 3 pairs of pants. I use the zip-offs because now I've got shorts and I've got pants. And I've also, now these are light pants. And I mentioned about going to Antarctica. And obviously these pants were not going to be warm enough. So I'm not going to take warm pants. what I'm going to take is liners, liner. And these are like for your riding pants actually, but they'll go under your summer pants. So now you have a nice warm pair of pants without having to take something heavy. And these roll up into just about nothing. And of course they're made by BMW. So I have my 3 pairs of pants there. And I have a black pair, so that's my dress pair, because we have had some interesting opportunities where we've been invited by the head of for the country in El Salvador, the American volunteers, Peace Corps. Yeah, and we were invited to his home for dinner and that. So you have to kind of gussy up a little bit. On the back of this bag, I also have bathing suit, because you never know when you got an opportunity to go for a swim. So what I have is a tankini, because it's 2-piece. So that's a top, and this is a bottom. And this bottom can be shorts for going out running, or exercising, or just lazing around. But again, they serve 2 purposes. And then this is my going out to the country heads for dinner. And again, it's just one of those fabrics that you can roll up and still look good, and a top, and my Becker shoes. And you're not very formal, but you're acceptable, especially if you've had a shower first. So, and talking about dressing things up a bit, one of the things, this has been our most valuable accessory. I'm sure you all know what these are as tubes. We started using these in India because the pollution was so bad that you couldn't breathe. So we were using these like over your head and up over your nose kind of thing. And if you needed some extra cash, it's kind of handy for dropping by the bank. And then I found later on I started getting helmet heads, so I started wearing them like that. And that also works in the Muslim countries. So, but they also are great neck warmers. But as an accessory, you can take something like I'm wearing now and have this as your kind of, scarf kind of thing. So because we don't take any jewelry, I don't take any jewelry or anything like that. So everything is just what you can kind of accessorize with the clothing that you have. And there's lots of these around now. A lot of the companies are putting them out, like the MOA for Billings. So that's our accessories. I mentioned the rule of 3 for the pants. Well, we have the same rule for the tops. And here's my top cube. So I have 3 tops here. And one is long sleeve and warm. And the others are short sleeve. So depending on where you're going, you can choose whatever climate you expect. And then you have, then I have this thing here, which is silk. And silk is a marvelous fabric because it keeps you warm and it keeps you cool. And this is just a little, what we used to call in the olden days, undershirts, but it's made of silk. And it's amazing when I put that under one of these other shirts, just a regular kind of t-shirt, it gets quite warm. And you wouldn't think that a little thing like that would do it, but it does. It's amazing. That's LL Bean, by the way. So I have my 3 shirts there, but I also have, this is another standby, and this is a long sleeve. It's stretchy. You can see it's Under Armour, and that can go under this kind of a shirt. So I have this on, and I have this on. And as it gets warmer during the day, I can take off my long sleeve and just have my short sleeve. Or if it goes the other way and gets colder in the day, I put my long sleeve on top of my short sleeve. So that is invaluable because, as you know, lots of times you start off in the morning and it's really cool, and then it gets warmer as the day goes on. So having something that will do both is really important. And last but not least is underwear. Oh, and I guess before we go much farther, don't wear underwear. Underwear is the worst thing you can wear riding because it gets you right here. So what we wear is
That's it, right?
these are LD Rider, long distance rider, and they have no seams. So you don't have that seam in the back of your
Work with us.
so they're really, really comfortable. They wash really well, and then they're topped off with silks, silk riding. They're like a long john, but they're silks. And again, they keep you cool or keep you warm, whichever way you need it. And they also help you get your pants off when they're all stuck to you, you know, at the end of a hot day. So that's the underwear. But you're not always on the bike, so you do require underwear when you go out in the evening or whatever. So. Yeah, Lori. I know what you do at that.
Socks. You didn't mention socks.
They're coming. This is a socks and underwear cube here. Again, 3 socks. Tilly's. Tilly, we like anything like that. That they wear really well. They wash incredibly well. They're not the most fashionable, but hey, they work and they're good in the boots. They're high enough that you can wear them with your boots or wear them with your pants. And underwear by Ex Officio. Same thing, washes really well, lasts really well, packs great. Ladies' personals. And then my other secret weapon. Who knows what these are? Panty liners? Wonderful things, because these things I've got on now, my LD Rider shorts, I can put a panty liner on that, and then I don't bother washing it tonight. I can get a few nights out of them without washing them. And the same with your underwear, you can use them in underwear. And they're not just for girls. Guys have, what do you call them?
Depends.
No.
That was pretty quick.
I was thinking of, skid marks you call them, skid marks. And that's not about tires. Anyway, but they're, as you can see, they're small, they're easy, they line your underwear, and they're available, again, all over the world. They have them, so it's something you can pick up refills for. So that's my sort of secret little weapon, those. And I've been talking about the rule of 3s, so that means you've got to wash. Again, in North America it's not a problem because there are lots of laundromats, you can get one anywhere, but lots of other places you can't. So this is my laundry department, and so what I have here is I have a stopper, because most hotels don't put stoppers in, they don't want you to overflow the sink, so I bring my own stopper and overflow the sink. And your mother's bar of Sunlight soap, and then the best thing of all, has anybody seen these? Clotheslines. Oh, these are amazing, amazing. This is Ross's job. When we get into the room, he has to find a place where we can put each end, and they'll clip on just about anything. And then you don't need clothes pegs because it's all braided. So you stick your little piece of fabric or whatever through the braid, and it holds it like that.
So what is it called? Where do you buy them?
Canadian Tire used to have them.
Yeah, they have them at CAA.
Oh, CAA? Okay. Yeah.
What is
Anyway.
it called again? Just clothesline? Is it called?
Yeah, just a clothesline. Yeah, travel clothesline, I think they call them. But they're phenomenal. And if you have microfiber clothing and you have a line like this, we often will go out for dinner, and when we come back, the clothes are dry. So it works extremely well. And as you can see, it packs into nothing. So that's, unfortunately, that's what we have to do. Most times is wash our own clothes. But it works. You just get used to it. So that's that's the clothing part of it. I wanted to, I did want to mention too about the Canadian flag. I saw most of you wear conspicuity, and so do I. And I have a flag on the back. And I really recommend this because what this tells them, it's nothing about being proud to be Canadian. It's about, I'm lost, I don't know where I'm going. And people recognize the Canadian flag, and they are very receptive to it, obviously. But they're also extremely helpful because they realize you're not from around there. And we've had people stop traffic and let us go by, and they've just been incredibly receptive, and that's been everywhere. And as a matter of fact, in Russia, we were on a road, and there was a traffic jam, and people were coming up and handing us gifts out of their window because they saw the Canadian flag. So, you know, it's really worth it to do that. And I'm patriotic too, of course. I just want to talk a little bit about the other stuff in the saddlebag, because there are certain things that we, well, obviously heated vests, you know all about that. I mentioned the tank bag though, so I wanted to go back to that. This is my tank bag. So what you guys have in front of you there, I have in here. So obviously my anonymous book is right on top, and then you know, the real important things like a corkscrew here, and and a glass in case you get offered a drink, and you know, all those little things that you have in your tank bag. But most people, as I mentioned, don't use their tank bag when you're riding. You know, not very often. It's usually once you're stopped. So this way, it's in my saddlebag. I've got all the stuff I need, but I don't have to worry about what I'm going to do when I leave my bike. The other thing that we use, this is a plug for AeroStitch, I guess. This is an AeroStitch fleece, but it's not just any fleece, it's a windproof fleece. And so this makes just a great jacket if you have a riding suit like I do. You don't really want to go out in the evening with this great big heavy jacket. This thing works great at quite low temperatures because it cuts the wind. And it washes really well, and it's just a really handy thing to have along. I also mentioned about just having one bag. Part of the importance of that is you don't want to be going back and forth to your bike, unloading your bike when you get to a hotel or wherever it is you're going. So we try and take everything up to the room in one swoop. And we found in South America in particular, oftentimes we'd have to park the bike away from where we were staying. And so walking back and forth in the heat, carrying stuff is not fun. So I have this little bag. You've all seen these string bags. But they make a great backpack for when you're going up to your room. It's got my iPad in it. So I've got one hand for my bag. I've got this on my back, and I've got one hand free. It also makes a great shopping bag. You know, if you're going out and buying stuff, sometimes we buy groceries or things like that. I can put it on my back. I don't have to put it in the saddlebag. So it's just, it takes up no room, and it's just a really handy thing to have so that you're not lugging too much stuff. As I mentioned, we stay in hostels often, and you're up on the 3rd floor and you're going up a winding staircase or something. You don't want to have to carry too much. So we find the one bag, and that is fine. And then the rest is pretty much just regular. Oh, shopping straps. Never forget shopping straps, ladies. You know, there's always room for more on the back of the bike. So, although I keep telling Ross that diamonds pack really well.
Until you get to the border.
Border? What border? Anyhow, I think my time's up for the clothing. Ross, do you want to just talk about the
rain gear?
Rain gear. We don't have rain gear. We have waterproof suits and waterproof boots and waterproof gloves. Yeah, we've given up on the.
More than one pair of gloves?
I have like,
Oh, I'd be embarrassed.
I bring 3 pairs of gloves.
Yeah, Yeah, Jill, I have,
Liners.
yeah, I took a few out because I didn't want to embarrass myself. But yeah, I have winter gloves. I have, these are sort of spring gloves, summer gloves, rain gloves, yeah. If you want to do a fun thing one time, I did a packing seminar at Raleigh one time and asked people to bring me their tank bags. And went through tank bags and see how many gloves, flashlights, pens, all the unnecessary things that people accumulate in.
I have a question.
Oh,
All the clothes that you mentioned, like the Tilly socks, the pants, have you looked into an insect shield version of it? Because what's new since last year is they've put permethrin impregnated into the fibers of the clothes, the socks, and it protects you 100% from mosquitoes, spiders,
oh
ticks,
yes, oh yeah.
fleas,
Oh.
lice, bed bugs.
Where are you sleeping?
I'm just saying, you're protected.
Russell.
I'll look into that.
Holiday Inn.
Mosquitoes and ticks being an important one up here.
Yeah.
But it's,
Oh, that's
and it's exactly the same as Tilly. Like they make a complete line of clothes, like the pants and zip
Yeah.
and everything.
Quite
It's
a
good
number.
for
Yeah.
80 washes.
And what's the name?
Insect shield.
Insect shield. Thank you. Thank you.
And you can actually take your clothes and ship it to them, and they impregnate it for cheap and ship it back.
You can buy this stuff in the States.
You can,
Oh.
but it doesn't last 80 washes. It only lasts like
All right, okay, so Gene has covered the most of this stuff. I just have a few words to add on the tail end. I guess it's probably been 25 years since I addressed this club before, so I see a few new faces. Not very many old ones, but yeah, it's good to see the club growing and continuing. I guess I'm the mechanic end of the deal. Not that I'm much of a mechanic, but you know, you just have to do what you can do. And for my part of it here, you need to decide what you're going to do, what you can do, and what you will do. So that pretty much dictates what you're going to carry with you. There's no sense taking a whole lot of tools if you're not going to use them, and there's no sense going without tools if you're planning to use them. So you have to go through that yourself, decide what you can do, what tools you're going to need for that, and those tools will be specific to your bike, not somebody else's bike. Any toolkit you buy won't have the tools you need, you know, and you'll have to weed out the ones you don't use, find the ones that are correct for what you're going to do. You know, if you're going to change a wheel, change a tire, you're going to need the right wrenches to get that wheel off. You're going to change brake pads. You know, you need to take the caliper off. So that dictates where you're going with that. The other thing is what you might do yourself or not do yourself, or where you are. So you really need to do that at home before you leave. If you plan to change a tire on the road, the middle of the night in the rain is not the time to learn how to do it. So put a set of tires on at home before you leave. Put them on yourself. You know, you'll find out what tools you need and just put them aside. Those are going to go with you. But if you're not going to change tires, then well, okay, you know, you don't need that stuff. But these are all decisions you need to decide before you go. Tires, brake pads, oil and filter. Bikes today, new bike today, I would bet you don't have the tools to change the oil and filter, which used to come with every bike. But you know, now you're going to have to find that before you can do that stuff. So that's, you know, just hard to be specific on what you need because everybody's needs are different. As for packing it, well, you know, tools are odd shapes. You try and tuck them in every little corner, a little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah, there'll be a tool bag, but that's usually sort of big, and you may or may not have room for that all in one place.
I go. A lot to learn,